Today is Wednesday, November 13th, 2019. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Island of the Idols, Week 8.
You're back.
I'm back. Yay.
Wow, what a tough episode to come back on.
Yeah. Whew. There was a lot packed in it.
Ventured into Survivor Thailand land with this one. All right, this episode was titled, We Made It to the Merge, and that was spoken by Jamal. It's night 19. And we're at the Lairo camp, and Dean tells us they're all upset. They want to know who that second vote for Jack was.
Well, I think Jamal and Janet were very upset, at least. And really, Jamal actually became almost threatening. Well, actually was threatening, not in a bad way, but just... Once Noura fessed up.
There are consequences. Yes. So she answered. She said,
be consequences.
I voted for Jack. And then there was a pause. And she said, as I was advised to.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's already throwing somebody under the bus. So
that's when he dropped the consequences hammer on her. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like,
she rolled quick.
There will be consequences, whether they be on you or whoever you tell us said that.
It was Kellee. Sorry, Kellee.
Kellee. Oh, Kellee, I'm saying, stop saying my name.
Kellee, have you ever heard the parable of the scorpion and the frog? You just got stung.
Stop saying my name. And even at the last, Noura was like, okay, Kellee.
She zinged her with it one more time. Whether she had awareness of it or not.
I don't think she had awareness of it. But it was funny nonetheless. I was like, oh. Though, what did you think when Kellee wanted to take them off alone without Noura?
I was really curious how she was going to spin it.
I think if I were Noura, I would have just said, hey, say what you're going to say right here in front of me. It's okay, just let's hear it.
That assumes a certain sense of awareness that I think she's lacking, though.
Why are you excluding me? Yeah. I have nothing to hide. Let's just talk it out, all of us. That didn't happen.
I think the thing I was most surprised about I was curious, how's she going to spin it? And then the thing I was most surprised by was that Janet seemed to totally buy it. Kelly's like, I did not do that. Janet was, I believe you. Now, I think Jamal mishandled it.
Well, what Janet actually said was...
I believe you.
Was in response to her saying, I had no time to talk to her today. She's like, no, you didn't, so I believe you. And Jamal's like, not so much.
Yeah.
So he didn't cut her any slack.
Yeah, I just don't know that it's in his best interest to do that.
No, but he was right.
He was absolutely right.
But whether you should say it out loud or not, I don't know.
You shouldn't. I'll tell you. You shouldn't show your cards. It's just that simple. You save that for confessionals.
Well,
in this case, he chose not to.
Yep, that was a choice.
Yeah, because you get caught off guard and you react emotionally. We see it. It happens, and this was certainly one of those cases.
Well, anyway, they all get up and search for idols.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, there's idols.
Oh, hey, look what an idol can do.
Kellee tells us her sister told her, anytime one's played, you need to be up at the crack of dawn and searching. And sure enough.
She was right.
Yeah, she finds one. She tells us she's got more tools in the toolbox.
And we were thinking, wow, that's impressive.
Then we see Jamal with tree mail. And he starts to read it and says, gather your... And then they all know what it is. Gather your personal things. It's time for a merge. Karishma tells us when you hear that.
And that's when he said, we made it to the merge.
Yeah. And she tells us that she hadn't been on any food rewards, so she's starving. and they're all ready to get some blue buffs.
Oh, wouldn't it be awful if they got to the merge and they didn't give them food? That has happened before. Not often, but it has, where they didn't give them food. I can't remember what season it was, but I know that happened at least once, or I think it does anyway.
Okay.
We can't trust my memory, and I am on Eastern time, and it's very late. The time zone I'm operating in right now is not where I really am, so forgive me.
So they do the merge without Probst. He doesn't announce that they're merged, and then they head off to the feast. Right, so that's a little different, and not unlike how the season started without Probst.
Well, they take them in boats over to some place where they have it all set up.
Feast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was in the shade even. They even had a shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Or a cover anyway, out of the sun. But it looked like a lot of good stuff. Let's see. Dan connects with Janet and Kellee a little bit.
Yep.
So he wanted to reconnect with them.
That's when Janet mentions that Jamal wants to work with him, and he says, why would I want to work with Jamal? He's got no use for Jamal. Huh?
Oh, well, that's why, she told Jamal that. And I guess that's why Jamal's like, hey, I'm going to have to go after Dan. That must be where that came from. Or did they have
There's another reason to go after Dan that we'll get to.
Well, yeah. But I meant with Jamal
But he certainly wouldn't have any problem with it.
With history.
Right.
Okay, so Tommy wants to work, he wants to work with the old people and the new people. So he didn't want to go back to
It's interesting.
old Vokai.
This is sort of a pivotal moment, I think, in the double episode tonight, because I believe it all comes back to this. And yeah, he's making a choice. Am I going to go old Vokai, or am I going to go this new Vokai route with all my new Lairo friends? And we're definitely coming back to this.
I really did think that they were going to go back old Vokai with Dean and Karishma and pick off the other people.
The Lairo.
I thought that was a real possibility.
That are the big threat.
But I also thought it was a possibility that the women might connect, because they would think it would be 8-5 if the women had connected. So they would have had... So they could have gone a lot of different ways. But I really thought Lairo, you guys are out of here probably.
Yeah.
And I was just certain. I thought, well, I don't know who else I'm going to pick. But Aaron's a given. Oh, they're going to get rid of Aaron. And then I thought, well, maybe Missy. But I thought, well, they could go after, if they get Aaron, they might go after one of the old Vokai. And so I ended up choosing Jamal. But I did consider Dan, and I even considered Missy, but I thought, well...
Okay.
And you chose...
There's a little insight into Joanne's JSFL decisions.
Yes.
Okay, sure, we'll do that. Let me...
You chose...
I had Aaron and Tommy going out.
Yeah.
So I was reasonably positive at this point. Tommy's talking like he's in control. So, and I didn't know how significant this little Tommy speech right here would end up being in the scheme of things.
You're like, yes.
And then I had Elizabeth, Janet, Lauren, and Missy safe. Okay, so back to the merge feast. So they're talking, and people are trying to make their decisions and working this out. This is all on day 20, and Elizabeth says, well, 13's an overwhelming number of people to deal with, but they've got their 7 strong, and then they're hoping to bring Janet and Kellee in, which causes the conversation to circle back to Tommy, where he's talking to Janet and Kellee.
Okay, but were you surprised that Elizabeth was good with the new Vokai? They weren't even considering... they would be outnumbered, but I still thought they would maybe be having some side deals with some of the old Vokai. But they seem to go, hey, we like the new Vokai tribe. We're just happy right here, and let's pull Janet and Kellee back over, and we're golden.
Right? Was that a surprise? No. That's pretty much been the plan they've been executing too while you were away.
I still really thought that they would have some question about that.
So the point I wanted to make right here was that Tommy ends up being I think this helps Tommy make his decision. He's talking to Janet and Kellee, and they're both shooting his ideas down. Because there's a pretty good reason for doing that, Tommy, but Tommy just thinks it's, oh, they won't listen to me. They won't consider any of my ideas.
Like Kellee said, why would we? That, you're adding the two of us onto your alliance.
You're putting us at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah.
But he wasn't able to see it from their perspective. He just saw them not listening to him.
Well, and he said straight up, I'm going to form the alliance that best serves me.
And Kellee,
which he should be doing.
Kellee tells us that old Lairo has to go, and Missy is her first target. She said she thought she could have worked with Missy, but it's just too late.
Yeah, to make that. I
to
thought
build
so
that
too.
bridge, yeah.
Yeah, I thought.
Because she recognized Missy's ability to play the game. She saw someone of similar caliber.
Yes, she was the most like her, which would be a reason to keep her close and work with her, or get her out quickly. And that's what I thought would happen when those two got together. That she would realize Missy is very strategic, also.
Right.
And so is Lauren, more than I thought. But Missy's, I think, and Kellee were on a different degree and level of that.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think of the new tribe name and the banner and all that?
I didn't really.
LumuWaku?
I didn't really think.
It doesn't roll off the tongue, does it?
I don't know what it means. I was going to look it up and see if it meant anything.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows if it means something, please let us know.
Yeah, we hadn't expended the huge amount of energy it would take to Google it yet.
Hey, I'm awake.
Yeah. Well, I'm including myself in that. It's not. Okay. I wasn't talking about you. Then we get an interesting conversation between Kellee and Missy, where they're talking about Handsy Dan and how upsetting that is, and start discussing the consequences of standing up, and looked like they were having a real heart-to-heart talk there.
Yeah, and Kellee was telling her about how Dan touches inappropriately, and Missy started saying how he would touch her and cuddling and inappropriate, but she hadn't really said anything before. And I thought...
Oh, they have joked about it before.
Yeah,
so
but
she
joked, not serious concern.
Right. I thought that she was connecting with Kellee on a genuine level. You thought maybe the gameplay was already in effect here. I
kind of thought that Missy was smart enough to see something she could bond with Kellee over, and she went for it. Mm-hmm. That was my thought.
By saying it that way, you're saying you don't think that she shared Kelly's emotional response to what had happened.
No.
Okay. I thought she did, actually.
Oh, okay.
So,
well,
can't know. We're not in their heads. But.
Well, because we hadn't seen anything before, so I don't know that for a fact. That was just my feeling.
Mm-hmm. And we get more from Missy, and we actually see, we break the fourth wall here, where Kellee ends up talking to a producer.
Mm-hmm. And crying.
Yeah, while she's, I think, having that connection with Missy touched it off for her, and it really caused it to well back up.
Well, and I can't help but think that she felt like it was happening to other women too, and that made it so much more real for her.
When they were talking, she said, yeah, it's five women now have come up with the same
and so
experience.
Somehow I think that triggered her emotions even more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know a lot of times women might accept something, or if they don't have a lot of confidence, maybe they feel like, maybe I did something to... But if there's multiple people going, hey, this happened, it's like, yes, I am justified. And I don't...
That's got nothing to do with just women. Everyone.
Well,
has that
everyone
experience.
in every way. But in this case, we're talking about the women.
Sure, yeah.
And so I do think that kind of really brings up your deeper emotions.
Well, it was a validation that she was looking for.
And that I would want to help protect other people, too.
I don't remember having the producers have a discussion with someone like that before. I'm glad they showed it. It's important that they showed it, because we've all been wondering why they hadn't already done something.
Or say something.
And I did miss that at the top of when we started the recap. There was a special notice when this episode started airing saying, hey, there's going to be sensitive discussions. It may not be appropriate for all ages. And certainly... I don't know. Did they do that was that on a Thailand episode with Ted and Gandia?
I don't.
Oh, this just took me back there. This episode.
Don't know.
I mean, it's a similar topic, but
Well, that really, really bothered you before. That particular thing bothered you so much at the time.
yeah,
Even, and you've never let go of that.
no.
You've never gotten over it.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
it just is still emotionally charged, is what I mean,
Uh-huh.
for you.
Yeah. So Kellee basically doesn't take advantage of that offer from the producer at that point. And I believe it's because she's back with Janet and she can see that there's a shift with Janet there and how Dan's behaving. I think that's maybe why she didn't choose to do that.
Well, and that she,
What we come to learn, at least.
yeah, and she was going to say she wasn't going to make game decisions based on that. So she was keeping her head in the game also, even
Yeah.
though she was having emotions. But I'm sure it was comforting to know that, okay, if it becomes a problem, they will back me up.
Got validation, and now the
yes,
producers have said
yes, they will put a stop
it's
to
not
it.
okay. Yeah.
All you have to do is tell us.
Yeah.
We will talk to him. And then they chose to do it anyway.
We come
even
to
though
find
she
out
said it's
eventually.
okay.
Yeah. So Tommy and Lauren are actually talking while Kellee and Missy are talking. They're looking over there, and their conclusion is, wow, Kelly's dangerous.
2 hours on the beach. This could be a problem.
So smart. And she's played that down, and here she is making a connection with Missy. Yeah, we got to get rid of Kellee.
Well, and Kellee was really the one that did most of the crying from what we saw with Janet. And it seemed to really get to Janet that Kellee was still so upset after all that time, being back over there with Dan. And I think that brought out Janet's motherly, protective side even more.
Yeah.
And even though she
You'd
said...
hope it'd bring out anyone's protective
Well,
side.
yeah, but she said there's never 100% proof. But she told her, if I see anything, I will be more observant. And if I see anything, I'll step in. I'll confront him about it. So I guess it wasn't obvious to Janet, and she didn't personally feel that way. So, it's difficult when you're trying to make that judgment, and you're the older person, and you feel protective of the younger girls. I know I would.
Sure.
And
Anyone
that's
who's
kinda
ever
me,
felt
yeah.
protective of someone else would feel that way. Yeah. That's kind of the role of the protector by definition. Yeah.
Yep.
It's going to cause you to start thinking in that mode for sure. There's a really interesting discussion right here, and I think it's a good one to have, especially if you've ever thought about being on the show, when you've wondered where the line was and what boundaries are you willing to observe? Because when we see Missy and Elizabeth talking, and they're planning here.
Yep. It went into game mode. Play up the Dan card to Kellee. That's how you're going to get on her, in with her. And you want to have something in common there. Play it up. And she really did. Elizabeth did that. She almost goofed a time or two, but I think that really made the difference. And it's hard to go, okay, as a Survivor fan and somebody who loves the game, you look at it and you go, okay, she's playing the game. But where does the line go when it crosses over? That's a serious accusation to someone.
You're old Lairo. You're outnumbered against old Vokai. You're down against the numbers. You're looking for any way you can to gain the upper hand, to chip away at that advantage that old Vokai has.
And I totally understand that, and would usually say, hey, you do what you got to do.
Or good on you for finding a way.
Yep.
But are you going to use a topic like sexual abuse, sexual harassment, inappropriate touching? Are you going to use that as a way to gain an advantage in the game? Well, Missy and Elizabeth are saying right here at this point that that's their choice.
Yes,
and Missy
that they're
is
okay
coaching
doing whatever.
Missy is coaching Elizabeth to ensure that she can convince Janet of that need to get rid of Dan, which will take out.
Convince Kellee.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I see that, but as the show went on, I will admit that it kind of made me look at them a little bit different, because I almost saw it as being, I didn't see any warmth. I thought, I don't see any reaction on their faces. That feels so cold that, like it shut off.
But there was a reaction, right? With Elizabeth, she was smiling. She seemed gleeful at the thought.
But at the end, at the very end, and she lied really well. And that's sometimes admirable in the game. But I don't know. I still had a little bit of a dilemma with it that way. So, I know, like I said, as a fan, I understand the logic of it, but I can't help but this could affect someone's personal life on a way deeper level for more long term. So,
yep.
Anyway, I'm sure they didn't look at it that way, but still. We'll see how everybody else feels about it too, but I do have to admit that it did kind of color me a little bit.
Lauren comes to Missy and tells her, hey, the vote is you, and Missy seems a bit stunned by it.
And didn't believe it.
Not at first. I think that's because, like I said, she was making, and she felt and was convinced that she was making a real connection with Kellee on their discussion of that topic of the inappropriate touching and how that made them feel.
Well, and that she could really use Kellee in that way for, to turn her against anybody on Vokai. There was only one old Vokai more than old Lairo. So I imagine they'd do most anything to at least shift those numbers, and maybe even after that because of the Dean and Karishma issue.
That becomes the question, though. Would you do anything? I think that's certainly a way to frame it, because this went into the territory of the dark side as far as I'm concerned.
And as a Survivor fan, I would have said, yes, absolutely. All's fair in, Survivor. But then when you look at this particular situation, it's like, oh, no, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know that my conscience would allow me to do that. And yet I would have said, oh, yeah, sure, anything, it's just a game. But that's why I say I'm conflicted.
I spent a lot of time thinking about what I would and would not do, and the role of a villain. And look, there are lots of kinds of villains. There's the kind of villain that lies about their grandma being dead, and there's the kind of villain that burns somebody's socks in the fire the first night. That you got those kinds of villains.
I would have been afraid that my grandmother would have died. That would have been all my fault.
And so there's that kind of villainy, and then you got this, which can have such huge repercussions, like you were just talking about. And well, it certainly is an interesting question. I know for me, I wouldn't go where they were willing to go. I wouldn't have crossed that line. But until you've lived it, you don't truly know, and you've been tested by that fire. I guess
I think
it felt really wrong.
Yeah.
To watch that all come together.
That was my
response to it.
All right, and then the producers posted their announcement that they spoke to everyone as in a group. They spoke to each person individually, and they made a point to say again they spoke to Dan personally, and
he received
a warning. So I guess that confused me, because when they say something to Dan, he seems to be so totally shocked. And yet, if they gave him a warning, I'm not sure how they worded that, and if they were specific about the warning. That was confusing to me. What did you think?
Well, you're looking at it in total across the whole episode now to ask a question like that.
Well, it was at this point in the game.
Well, at this point in the game, I was thinking, great, I'm glad they finally, on day 22, whatever it is, 21 or 22, I don't think it said clearly, that they did say something to him. I really thought they should have said something from the very beginning, and they could have handled it exactly the same way. They could have met with everyone as a group, and then they could have met with everyone individually, and no one would have been the wiser, because as you can see in the context of this specific event, there's lots of different filters that you get to view this through.
Well, it felt like at this point they were just
So I was happy that they
covering
did
themselves for legalities.
Well,
you know,
that's a way to look at it too.
And
But I was just glad at this point that
That
I
they
agree with
spoke
what
up.
you're saying, and my response is that if you look at it in total, I think it would be because he was in denial. But you have to go all the way to the very end of the second episode to sort of get to that point.
well, and you just hope either way, for whatever reason anybody does anything, that it results in something positive.
Okay, it's day 22, and we've got our first individual immunity challenge. What'd you think about this one?
Had a table with 3 balls, and you know, that mechanism, I thought, ooh, that's evil. I would fear that mechanism, that if you just move it a little bit and it locks it in,
Yeah.
then you can't undo it.
Right, yeah. There are
That made it more
consequences.
evil somehow to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It's like, oh no.
And it's an endurance challenge.
And you're going to hear the click of it too.
How much strain can you take on your lower back, or how long can you do squats? This was this is an evil challenge. That's what I thought.
Maybe 10 seconds, 15.
This is gonna hurt.
I thought, minutes, forget minutes. It'd be seconds for me.
Yeah, Elizabeth and Noura, they didn't last very long. Before they dropped their first one, it was
No.
seconds for them. Dean and Kellee right behind them.
Yeah, Noura did good in a lot of challenges, but this was not her challenge.
I thought given her physicality, she might have a shot at this, that this kind of endurance thing might be where she was, given her physique. But
Well,
I guess that's not the case.
You even questioned during this time
That's true, yeah.
whether she and
She's
Dean were just throwing it
I
or
think
not.
they're throwing it because they
But
don't
why
want to
would
look.
they?
They don't want to look like physical threats, and they're look at what it's getting them. Look at what not being threatening, what not being a significant player in the context of the game is getting them. They're at the merge. They're there with individual immunity. Noura, Karishma, and Dean are being dragged along in the game. It's not through anything that they've done other than be sort of incompetent in the overall scope of the game.
Well, when I saw a picture of this challenge, I went right to, oh, those big muscle guys are out. Tommy's out and Aaron's out. Oh, yeah. Jamal's out. They're all going out first. Those girls, you know, they've got better balance standing on those things. And I thought, the guys' feet are going to be too big on those blocks.
The blocks that they have to stand
that they
on
had
to
to
even out their
balance
height.
on. Oh,
Yeah.
that was awful. And I thought women have smaller feet. The women are going to do better, et cetera, et cetera.
Noura
And
first out, then Kellee,
I was like, oh,
then Dean.
boy, was
Janet,
I wrong about that.
Elaine, Lauren, Dan, out. Yep. Karishma's out. Tommy's out, but he seemed to go out because he slipped. His hands were
Oh,
sweating.
he said, yeah, they said they were.
Yeah.
Or that was his excuse anyway.
It was just
But they were sweating. Even Missy was dripping sweat.
Even the horns they were playing in the background while this was going on sounded painful.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they wanted to show all that pain. And then when they said 15 minutes, I was like, really? It's that bad at 15 minutes? Oh, my goodness. And then they showed 25 minutes. It's like, oh, no,
Yeah,
horrible.
25, it's down to Aaron and Jamal.
Yep. And Jamal just put it down. He was in too much pain.
Looked like it, yeah.
Yeah.
He basically tumbled off
He just
the
went,
platform.
okay, I'm done, and just laid it down. I don't know if the balls even rolled off.
So just
He
like a lot of people thought,
put it
I
down.
know it was something you kept talking about when we were chatting on the phone while you were away, was that Aaron won a big physical threat. You kept saying, there's a chance he could just win them all. They need to get rid of him so he can't win them all. And he starts off with a win.
See, sometimes I'm right. But no one else agreed with me, obviously, because his name was not even brought up. I was so shocked. I was just sure that I was getting a point on that. That was a given.
Yep.
That
Seemed reasonable, but you can't vote the
not
guy
this
out
season.
if he wins individual immunity.
You cannot. Nope.
And Missy tells us in that quick confessional afterwards that Missy's thinking,
Kellee tells us.
yeah, that Missy's thinking like her, And therefore, this needs to be the nail in her
she's
coffin.
a threat. Time to go. I thought, that probably means it. Oftentimes, whoever says something like that,
who gets the confessional after the challenge?
Not gonna happen.
Yeah, not gonna work out for you. Okay, we're back at LumuWaku. There on day 22. The sharks are in the water. Missy tells us. Why do I keep mixing their names up? Missy tells us that she needed to win because she knows that Kellee's targeting her.
Well, and she is some worried that Tommy and Lauren, so I don't think she 100% trusts them too much. She is worried that they're telling her.
She definitely doesn't. We've heard Missy say that she needs to get rid of Tommy to take him away from Lauren. But Tommy and Lauren are focused on Dean.
And he tells us, he's not sure he can vote Kellee out, but he got over it before tribal.
She saved me. Could I really do that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine just says okay to whatever people say to her, I think. She's like, okay, whether she does it or not. Yep, okay. And Aaron, of course, is ready, and he'll do it. And then we see Jamal and Noura having a conversation, and that he wants to take Dan out and wants to know if she'll help him make a big move. And Noura was so thrilled.
Which should have been a warning sign, but he didn't know that this same scene had played out with Noura and Jason and didn't end well for Jason. But yeah, he started working on her, I guess.
Well, and then Jamal broke it to Janet. So he went to, I thought he and Janet were a little closer than he and Noura, but I guess not. He played the idol for her. But I still kind of thought they were, but I guess not.
Well, I don't know that one necessarily negates that.
Well, and it could have been shown out of order, but Janet agreed right away as long as he had the numbers. But then we see her crying.
Yeah, you picked up on that quick. I didn't realize that she was having an emotional response to it.
Oh, big time.
Yep.
Because she said she really liked Dan. Mm-hmm. And I know that's part of what was bothering her so much is I went against my instincts because I like Dan and she hadn't had any problem with him. And she was conscious of what it can do. She said she'd been on both sides of that and seen both sides of it many times. And she knew what could happen to both sides. And so she didn't want to be the cause of that. And I think that's why it bothered her so much in the end, as she felt responsible.
But at this point, she believes it's a moral decision and she's got to carry through on it.
Yeah,
so she
doing it for the young girls.
Reaches out to Elizabeth and tells them, we're going to have to take Dan out, and I need you to go tell the Lairo folks to focus on Dan.
I was really a little bit surprised again, I don't know why, that Elizabeth totally didn't believe Janet and just went, no, she's lying to us and I'm not buying it.
Which is another reason she felt justified, I'm sure, for leveraging an inappropriate, touching, sexual abuse, harassment kind of scenario in a gameplay context. Mm-hmm. She thought that was what was being done to her at this point, right? So
she was being played, so she's going to play them first. But and that is the game. And then Elaine goes and tells Dan, which was part of their strategy to get him on their side.
Yep.
And you notice the Lairo was looking pretty smooth here. They're all working this and add this one and that one, and Vokai is all against each other, not wanting to be in a. I'm like, they have the numbers.
Right. So
whatever you do after this,
what old Lairo has been able to accomplish there is impressive. How they went about it, what they used to get there, is certainly morally questionable. I'm still not sure how it happened. Actually, it's like Dan was so willing to believe somehow just turned on a dime
on Janet.
Yeah, and just tells us that he thinks Janet's stupid and her actions are reprehensible now. So they got Dan so turned around, he believes it too. He believes that Janet is the one that's doing this as gameplay, not Elizabeth and Missy.
Well, and obviously Jamal thought he was in tight with Tommy to Tommy's benefit. You know, he fooled Jamal, and that they were going after Dan. So I thought this just didn't look like it was going to end well at all. And he and Lauren, they appear to be very tight. I used to think Tommy was really tight with Janet because, you know, she would run to talk to Tommy.
Or he would run to talk to her.
Yeah. But now it seems like he's bonded more with Lauren, maybe over their scare that they no longer had the numbers.
Yeah, well, he's been split up from Janet.
Yeah.
So he's had more total time in the game with Lauren at this point, and that time makes a difference in some cases for sure.
And Kellee tells us at this point she's feeling a little nervous. So she decides to go out and search for an idol at the new place, the new beach.
Right.
Since she found hers at
she found the Lairo one. Now she's looking
beach.
For the Vokai one, yeah.
Yep. She's like, okay, there's probably one over here too.
Yep.
Off she goes and finds another one.
Bingo. Now she's got two.
It's like, oh, this girl
the power.
Is looking good.
My first thought was, oh, we're headed towards a Parvati-like moment in this tribal council. Kellee's has the potential to completely blow them away. She has the potential to do a move at Heroes versus Villains Parvati level here. So just when I thought I hadn't underestimated her enough, here she comes with the potential to elevate her game even further.
Yep, we were kind of like, wow. I was kind of thinking she might be a shoe-in to the end. And then we go to tribal council. And Jeff asked about what's the sense of the vibe out there. And who does he ask? Dan. Would you have thought of Dan as having his finger on the pulse of the tribe?
Well, I think that would be more...
Not for me.
In response to the events that were going down. You got to believe Probst is privy to everything. Like on the backside, the production folks have got to have been going nuts talking about this particular issue that had to have been the gossip in base camp for sure, that the accusations against Dan and what all that has meant.
Probing question, because obviously he didn't have his finger on the pulse of any vibes if he was clueless.
Well, he punted. He responded that trust outweighs deception, so that's his talking point for this tribal.
But Karishma points out that we need trust. We need it to get to deception.
Yeah.
It's like you got to trust somebody.
Missy
you're going to try to deceive.
Chimed in just before that she thinks trust is dope sometimes. Every once in a while she says things that if I were in an alliance with her, it would make me really worried.
That's, her generation.
Oh, and I thought that... no.
Just like I say dude and you think I'm nuts. But
I don't think you're nuts.
That was my generation. Everybody was dude.
Okay. Well, hearing you say dude the amount that you do was much like witnessing Dan exclaim how dope the merge was.
Oh, okay.
So if you can recall back to what that felt like watching him make that statement about how they were going to blow it up there at the merge, that's what it's like hearing you say dude all the time.
I don't think I heard it, but I don't care.
Said you went there.
Because that's just me.
Uh-huh.
And it's not, it's just who I am. It's how I talk. I'm not changing. I'm too old to change.
I see.
Especially when it doesn't bother me. Okay, Lauren.
Privilege. Yeah, Lauren tells us there's sharks in the water and her antennas are up.
Well, and she's getting to know Dean and Karishma a little bit. And that she's like, everybody's antenna went up. Well, yeah, of course it did. At the merge, everybody's watching everyone intently. Every little move is suspect.
What did you think when Kellee hesitated when she got the question from Probst?
No.
Trust or deception? Oh, trust. Yeah, trust.
He's like, Kellee, it's not a new question. We've been talking about it. But I like that Janet chimed in and tried to cover. Oh, yeah, but she overanalyzes everything.
Yeah.
So that kind of told its own little story, but...
Tommy gives great cover. He says, oh yeah, going with the old Vokai numbers advantage, that would be the easy way to go. Yeah, it would, Tommy. It actually would. It'd be interesting to get more insight than what he thought he was gaining with his choices here. Janet tells us that she gets the old Vokai pitch, but the lines are softening.
And Dean said, hey, I'm looking to build trust. Old Lairo betrayed me.
Nobody wants me. I've been blindsided and gotten almost every vote if I hadn't had an idol. So
Well, he's once again announcing, hello, I'm a vote.
yeah.
Who wants me? As long as it's not me. And that could take him a long way.
Liked Missy's summary here. Did you apply for a reason?
Oh, yeah. Did you, and can you play this game?
Right.
Well, we'll see. Okay, it's time to vote. Dan says, well, we'll see if we can trust or not. Let's vote.
Mm-hmm. You see Kellee turn to Lauren and ask, we good while the voting's going on? Lauren says yes.
And
Kelly's thinking
the kiss
hard.
of death.
She's thinking hard. Is she going to play that idol? Is she going to play it? Are we going to see something?
And I guess she totally trusted Lauren.
Yes.
And
she got played in the end.
You got to give Lauren some credit in this game.
Yep.
She was definitely playing. And we see that 5 votes come up for Dan, and then Kellee.
I like the tension. No, it was just going back and forth, back and forth, and then Kellee went out.
Well,
so they were even through 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
Got the 6th one. They didn't even have to show the 7th one, which was Tommy's, I think, because he wrote Kellee Bean on.
Well, she got 8
instead of Jelly Bean. Kellee Bean.
Yeah, because there were 13 still. And down to 12, so they really got
Kellee makes Survivor history.
Oh, goodness. And James is at home going, yes.
Finally,
someone joined me.
Joined the Gravedigger with 2 idols in the
Jeff
pocket.
will get off my back again.
Nope. They just add Kellee to the list.
That's right.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, at least she knew it.
Where does Kellee fall in Dumbest Moves ranking now?
Yeah. She was like, well, okay.
At a minimum, you play 1 on yourself.
I really thought she was going to turn around maybe and hand somebody her bag, knowing the idols were in there, and just say, well, I want you to take my clothes so you can stay warm.
I don't know that they can do that. I think they're dead at that point, the idols.
Well,
you can give clothes away, and they don't always show it because it does happen.
You think they would take them? They wouldn't let them even use them as a decoy or...
Mm-hmm.
Bummer. I liked my idea better.
Okay. So Kellee is in shock. Dan is thrilled. You see him say, yeah, put that torch down. He feels vindicated. He won.
I just couldn't believe it that she didn't play it.
Yeah. We were in shock, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we really were. We were like, seriously? You have 2. Why would you chance that? But
you know who else wanted to know what had just happened? Janet.
Kellee, too.
Janet wants to know what happened when they get back to camp there on night 22.
Oh, definitely. Well, and who does she go to? Tommy and Lauren.
Well, they're the only 2 that offered to talk to her.
Yeah, exactly.
She's asking if someone's going to talk to her.
Well, did you notice how quickly Karishma distanced herself from Janet?
Sure, yeah.
She was like, nope, I don't want to talk to anyone. And Lauren admitted first, yeah, I voted Kellee.
I think Tommy did first, and then Lauren did, and then she... I think this is in the second tribal council. Is it the second one? Where she apologizes for coming at Janet. She said... When she said she apologized for coming at her so hard, I think she might have been...
You are jumping ahead.
This moment, though, but it's relevant to this moment.
Okay.
Because she fired back at Janet and said that Dan's not an issue for me, and... Yeah. All these things. So, and that's when it just really sinks in hard for Janet that Janet thought she was doing the morally right thing and that she was going to help get rid of this problem for all the ladies that had, she thought, expressed this perspective. And now it's all turned on her. And it's interesting how at this point it's going to seesaw back and forth, this perspective of you're using this as a gameplay element. How dare you do something like that? And both sides are thinking that about the other.
Well, and I would think Janet would be, when Lauren said that, wasn't an issue for me. Well, you couldn't have told me that before the vote? Give me a heads up, something.
Yeah, you're just not going to be thinking you're clearest at this point, though.
No.
Not at the end of the day like this, after just going through an emotionally intense tribal council.
So then Janet goes to Dan himself and just says, let's talk. That talk today was about you that the producers had with us. And
I don't know if he knew that, though, because that actually could be taken a different way. In terms of the talk today, it doesn't necessarily mean the producers. It could have been around camp and, within the alliance.
That what the people were saying today was about. Yeah, I didn't think so. I thought they totally
we
meant.
talked about that after it happened in the commercial break. And
that's why I'm saying it for the folks.
Yep.
Because I didn't take it that way at all. I just thought she meant the producers. So anyway,
you
Janet's
get some
like,
insight
I got played
into how complex these kind of events and issues can be, because you have Janet telling Dan, listen, they came to me and they said these things, and Dan's said, yeah, that's depressing to think that that's happening and that they feel that way. And Janet tells him, they played me on your reputation. So they finish their discussion, and Dan goes and talks with Missy and Elizabeth. Now, these are the two who had hatched the plan as a gameplay element to leverage this issue around Dan.
And he apologizes if you think I've been inappropriate, and I'm sorry. And Elizabeth does
I listen really carefully when people say those things. Sorry, I spoke over you, but he said if. He didn't say that he was apologizing. It was always if.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's important.
Well, he actually said, if you think I was inappropriate. If you think I was inappropriate. He obviously didn't think he was inappropriate, but if they did, he was still sorry if they thought he was inappropriate in any way. But
there's a choice you can make. You can leave the if off, and I think it has more weight, it has more gravitas, it's more significant. I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. And I'm sorry, Missy. I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
Well, I'm sure he would say, but I did apologize. So I get your point, though.
Yeah. And then they would say, because they're doing this all from a gameplay perspective, but you didn't, which is essentially what they do in response. Well,
Elizabeth does such a job on acting shocked at the things Janet said.
Right.
I just thought, whoa, you need to go into acting now or something.
Missy and Elizabeth both did a really good job of convincing Dan that Janet is the one that's lying here.
They totally
and she's the one
it.
using it from a gameplay perspective.
And then Elizabeth went so far as to say something about, we were joking,
Well, it's a confessional. They're cutting to a next day confessional with Elizabeth when she says that. She says, we may be on the wrong of it by joking about this. But that didn't stop them from saying Janet's a snake and this is what Janet's doing, Dan. And
then, Aaron joins them, and I think, was it
Elaine?
Elaine.
Mm-hmm. And you were quick to point out, hey, Dan, look, you're surrounded by old Lairo.
Yeah.
But this is such is such an emotionally charged issue that being able to have that kind of awareness is just unlikely, especially when you're the one being attacked the way he is feeling. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying that's where his head is.
Well, and Elizabeth, I'm having a talk with her tomorrow, blah, blah, and really playing it up. I don't know. I felt bad for Janet because I just...
Absolutely.
She was so genuinely upset.
Well, and where she was coming from versus where they were coming from.
Yeah. And then when Janet goes back to Dan, he tells her there's a bigger problem going on here outside of this game. And so that's when he tells Janet that they swore, they didn't do it. And he questions Janet more then. Did they say it directly to you? Or
Not
did you
Missy,
hear it?
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
That was her response. Yes, it was up there on the hill with Elizabeth, and so Janet...
And this is what she said.
Janet says, okay, let's go clear this up.
Let's go talk to him right now.
Asked Missy and Elizabeth to come back out of the shelter where they had bedded down for the night and ask Elizabeth the question, did you say this? Elizabeth does such a horrible job. She seemed just like a child in her response, completely guilty. And then she does own up to it and say, yeah, I said it. And then she covers it. And it seemed to work for Dan's satisfaction. She covers it with Dan By saying, hey, I needed to say that.
I just need to get her off my back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know Dan wanted to believe that, and that he had already kind of formed an opinion about Janet. But
it makes him not in the wrong for having done any of the things that he's being accused of. So,
well, and maybe he was even more hurt by Janet thinking it than, somebody else, but because he had trusted her. But I just felt really bad for her when she went off and slept alone. And
yeah, it's not like you could share a shelter with Dan at that point.
Well,
I get that.
I didn't blame him for going off alone.
Or anyone else. She had to felt isolated.
Yeah.
That she had been played so hard and misled.
If that were me and I was Dan, I would go sleep alone and just go.
Felt like
I'll sleep alone, y'all.
Felt like she was doing the right thing morally.
Yeah, that was the thing. I felt bad for her.
But it ends up working to her advantage, as it would turn out. So she does isolate herself on the beach, and come early morning, she notices two people are up and moving her way, and they don't see her. She tells us, I don't think they realized where I was sleeping, because Aaron and Missy come by, and Aaron's carrying a stick, and Missy has a shovel, and they're walking down the beach. That's not suspicious at all. And Janet says, hi, where are you going? And for
just out for a stroll.
A walk.
They said a walk, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't answer right away. It wasn't really glib. It was like thinking. Oh, we're going for a walk. Really? It took you that long to come up with that? Okay. So she follows them, tries to.
She knows they're looking for an idol. And decides, hey, that's a good idea. I may need that idol.
But they lost her. They ducked into the jungle, and she lost track of them. But so she starts looking, and bingo. She ends up finding a hidden immunity idol.
Awesome.
So the fortune turned in her favor in this particular instance, and them sneaking off to go look, that was the catalyst that led her to it.
Well, and she's so moved she cries because she found an idol.
Good life lesson. She said sometimes you just got to keep going even when you're down in the dumps and feeling your worst, and keep putting one foot in front of the other.
True.
And in this case, it did pay off for her.
I don't know. I just kind of think Karishma, it's like, couldn't you comfort Janet a little bit? I mean, I understand in the scheme of the game she was maybe distancing herself, but...
Well, I think Karishma and Aaron and Elaine had all been fed, probably Dean too, but they had all been fed this version of the story that Janet was using this as a gameplay element, and they felt like that she was doing something morally wrong.
Maybe.
I think this is critical when you watch everyone thinking the other ones are the ones that are doing that. And we'll never know for sure because we don't get to see everything and the sequence that it happened in. But what the editors chose to show us was that Missy and Elizabeth hatched a plan to do this, and they were quite effective in it.
All right, and next we switch over to Jamal and Karishma.
Day 23.
Yep. And what do they see hanging but a note from a tree?
You found me, I'm yours.
And it's like, okay. And Karishma immediately like, well, I saw it, but Jamal grabbed it.
Except that's not how they showed us.
No.
That's not how the editors showed us. They showed Jamal looking over.
Yeah, and then they show her saying that. So
as they're both moving towards it. Yeah.
So we believe as viewers, do we believe what she's saying or what they're showing us? So I don't know. Jamal didn't seem to feel guilty in any way.
No, well, he even said whatever comes of this, whatever good comes of this is something we'll have together.
Oh, and she was talking about at the time about Tommy won't talk to her anymore. So.
Yeah, that he shut that door, which that tells. Anytime you hear someone shut off communication, that's significant. Oh, it means they're not keeping an opportunity open there.
They're not leaving the door open for you.
Right.
And that has bit people before.
At a minimum, she's a vote. Come the end. And she'll remember that you're the guy who said, no, I don't have anything to say to you.
Exactly. And what does it hurt to... Well, I guess it could hurt if the other people thought he was scheming with her, but, you just don't go off privately with her. If you want to talk to me, you'll have to talk to me where other people are, because I don't want to have private conversations, because that'll make people paranoid.
We're on a tangent. Let's go back to Jamal and Karishma and what they found, and then I'm really interested in what you thought about it. So they're excited about finding this thing. They both think it has potential, but it tells Jamal, hey, you got to go to the island of the idols right now. So they hustle back down, and he heads out to the beach, and he tells us he's excited, ecstatic, looking forward to it. And then come to find out, what was it?
A lost vote.
A lesson on the art of sabotage, Boston Rob tells him.
And, okay, bottom line, if there's something hanging from a tree and that says, I'm always going to grab it. Even knowing,
yours, yeah.
That's right. Even knowing that it might be something I didn't want to happen, I'm still going to grab it. I'm sorry.
This is their most craptacular lesson, is what I would say. This is...
Yeah, I agree.
Advantages, idols, sometimes they're in the open. So saying it sounds too good to be true.
Well, and even Rob saying, there's no free lunches on Survivor. Yes, there are.
Yeah, there are.
You have to win them, but
and it's not
still,
fair.
Yeah.
Well,
you have to take your
free.
Opportunities.
But
that's not free.
When you find something, you stumble across it, depending on where it is, then yeah.
So I thought that was a little bit lame.
Yeah, that was lame. Now, what did you think when they gave him the blank piece of paper and the pencil and said, it's your turn?
I thought,
you can pass it along.
Hey, Sandra gets to do something. She handed him the pencil and a piece of paper.
Outside of her Vanna role, what did you think about what he could potentially do with a blank piece of paper and a pencil?
I don't know. I thought, okay, that feels a little lame too. But then I thought, okay, he's going to have to come up with the ideas. And I thought, okay, this could be good. But I don't think that went over well when he tried to present it. But I guess it was an okay opportunity. But...
My first thought was that, hey, I can tear this paper into multiple pieces. It doesn't have to just be one thing.
Oh, I never thought of that, so good on you.
I don't know if that's true, but that was my first thought. It's like, okay, all right, well, let me crease this.
Yeah,
and
you could
there's at least two
probably
things.
only get a couple out of it, but you couldn't present them both at the same time.
Oh, I wouldn't present them,
more
but I wouldn't present them. My thought was, okay, so I can make up some individual or hidden immunity idol awards or some kind of advantage with these, and then I can plant them, and I can basically direct someone to them, or I could do the same thing they did to me. I could leave them laying on the trail and let someone find it.
The contribution was, you can do anything. Anything at all.
Right.
Sky's the limit. Think big. I would have said, well, come on, give me some of your suggestions, too, but in case there's something I'm not thinking about.
So like you were talking about, we get to see his return, and he presents his story about what happened at the Island of the Idols, a 50-50, and he ends up with a fake legacy advantage.
And that's where I felt kind of let down. Like that was a little bit lame, the whole thing, because it just didn't seem to go over well.
Well, it was okay right up until the point where he said, and since it's Dean's birthday, I'm going to give it to him. And Dean's immediate response was the right, appropriate one. Oh, thanks for the target you just painted on me.
True.
And the part that I did like was when Dean said, well, you can barely read it. And so Jamal responded, okay, yeah, I had to write it. I had to copy it off of this wall where they had all the words there. And Missy said, oh, you made an idol. Which was cool. Yeah, I liked that part of it too. That it ended up spinning that way, so it was kind of going in his direction. But Dean really wasn't buying it at all.
Well, and that's when Aaron, I think, said that Jamal's playing everyone, and we're going to have to get rid of him.
He's a threat. He's got to go. Yeah, there was a little back and forth because Jamal presented that to Dean, and then he kind of wrapped up his story and walked off and left them all there to discuss it on the beach. And you see, Dan said, well, I don't think it's a fake. There's too much detail. And Noura said, well, when there's too many details, it's a fake.
So everybody had a point of view.
Yeah.
And they didn't really show us exactly what everybody thought. We didn't see anybody say that, oh, well, should we do Jamal or should we do Dean? Because he's got the legacy.
The downside of the mystery that they're enforcing around Island of the Idols is that they can't show us much of the discussion and how these things play out.
Well, we'll find out later on because it's bound to come up again. But anyway, it was okay, but I don't think I really loved it.
Day 24, immunity challenge.
Number 2.
For both a man and a woman are going to gain immunity on this. It's a classic where you got to lean out further and further over the water until you can't hold yourself up anymore.
And everybody has always thought it was very painful.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff starts out by lowering them right away.
Yeah, I like that.
And
the way that he did it slow and the creaking and all that, it really got into their heads, especially Lauren's head.
Well, yeah, I thought she was just going to jump into the water immediately, and she just about did.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
She did go first.
She went a little paranoid real quick.
Yeah.
So she was panicking a little bit. But was it Elaine that kept encouraging her to, no, hang on, you can do it? And otherwise, I think she would have gone ahead and jumped.
Yeah. I don't think she really intended to put herself out there for that one to begin with. So that just seemed like some theatrics to me. But I did like Jeff's catchphrase for this, dig in and hang on, as he cranked it at the beginning and then at 5 minutes and then at 10 minutes. And they're dropping. Lauren's out, Dan's out, Jamal's out, Elaine out with a flip.
Got to go out in style.
Karishma out, Janet out, Dean out. Now we're at 10 minutes.
I don't know how you could do a flip from that angle, but she did. So
yeah, she did good.
Okay, so then Jeff
gave her a 7
it again.
out of 10. Yeah.
Tells them another 5 minutes. They're like, oh man, this is really seriously dropped. Then Karishma, Janet, and Dean go, and then he lowers it again. So we have Noura and Missy. I didn't think that either one of them was even going to drop.
And Elizabeth.
Those two, my point being, is they looked so solid.
Oh, yeah.
Like they weren't in
locked
pain.
In. Yeah.
You couldn't see any expression. You could tell Elizabeth was hurting. It was showing on her face.
Gotcha.
It was not showing on their faces.
Right.
And I thought, wow. And then Elizabeth drops, and then who was it that went?
No, Noura dropped. Elizabeth is at the end.
Noura
facing
dropped
off with,
first.
with Missy. Yeah, so Tommy dropped, so that meant Aaron won for the men, won his second individual immunity, and then Missy and Elizabeth
drops.
Yeah, and Missy wins individual immunity for the women.
Well, I'm with Kellee. They should be targeting Missy too, and Aaron.
Missy tells us that Janet, Jamal, and Karishma are the targets, and each benefits someone. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Okay, day 24. Jamal, Janet, Karishma are on the bottom, and he's worried he could go home.
Yep.
And Janet thinks it's going to be a split vote, that they're going to split it. So she goes to Tommy and, asks him, am I safe? And he tells her she's okay.
Yep.
Don't worry about it.
She didn't believe it at first, and I can understand why.
Well,
given what she'd just gone through.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't trust Tommy at that point at all, but...
Yep, he tells her, you're safe, and you need to vote for Jamal. Janet tells us, I'm taking my immunity idol with me. As you should. Ready for tribal council? Anything else you want to cover?
I don't believe so. Let's do it.
Noura gets the first question, and she tells Probst that after that last tribal council, lots of people were upset. Janet reacts to what Noura said about everyone being upset, and she's basically taken ownership for it and said, yeah, there's a big question about the choice that was made. Is it gameplay? For me, it was about moral character, and Aaron's not really having anything to do with that. He thinks it's all gameplay on her part, and Janet says, it was like, it's my mistake for having gotten involved in that.
And she should have gone with her gut. Mm-hmm. But Aaron thought, oh, she's just playing the victim. It's all survivor play, This is all a gameplay trick that she's trying. If that were true, he would have known. Tommy would have known.
I like that Jamal spoke up and offered a correction here for that, and it's a good lesson. And he said, look, it just doesn't work that way.
And we're not entitled to know. A woman isn't entitled to tell anyone until she's ready. So he had a lot of nice things to say about that. And
I think that comes
to offer to the other men.
From his experience. Yeah, that was a good lesson.
Aaron was kind of making faces about it a little, but Tommy seemed receptive.
Aaron got defensive. He said, look, I'm very sensitive. All my clients are women, and my wife's a woman, I don't know, whatever. But he was really being defensive, in my opinion, in his response.
I thought he said, I have sisters, and you have a...
Yeah, it's classic, yeah.
Yeah.
And Probst flipped the question back over to Dan, trying to get to the heart of it. And Dan's response is, we're not going to let this go.
So the bottom line is we're not going to let this go. It's like, Probst was like, no.
Yeah, gonna hold
not
on.
Not till day 39. I'm not letting it go.
Came a little later because they circled back on this. But Dan tries to deflect, and he says it's all about trust and deception, which was the pitch from the last tribal council. So he's trying to deflect at this point.
Yeah, well, Aaron was totally deflecting the whole time. Missy then kicked in, and starts almost confronting Janet about, what was your plan, Janet, before? And Janet was like, you mean bringing up your name? Is that what you're referring to? So I thought, my first thought was, oh, she's just deflecting, trying to and she's done that before, and she was very good at it.
Yes.
So I thought, but that's what she's doing.
She changed the subject and forced Janet to answer some different question and went away from the gameplay versus moral choice and all that. Tried to make it about Janet.
Yeah, and Jeff explained to Dan that, we haven't really talked about it. We've been talking, you've all been talking around it. We're not going to let it go. But then, Aaron also said the victim role by Janet, and, he's defending Dan.
Right, because he thinks Janet is doing this from a gameplay perspective. I did like that Karishma spoke up and said she's not trying to be deceptive here. She really believed that what she was doing was the right thing to do.
And yes, it was Janet's perception of what was going on. And Dan, chimed in and said he didn't really want to be a part of anything that made anybody feel bad. So I don't know if he was trying to defend himself but it is what it is, and it's a discussion. So everybody should be getting a chance to explain their perspectives.
Yeah, he and Probst went back and forth a couple times there. Probst even told him, slow down. But Dan didn't seem to be responsive to what Probst was trying to tell him. Well,
you thought he was avoiding it. I thought that he could possibly be really upset and not wanting to talk about it as well. Because I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. All we know is what the little bits we got to see. So I didn't want to throw a judgment in there myself. But I thought, well, he could just be very upset about it, that anyone would think that. Or he could be guilty. I don't know.
As he says, he's got cause for concern. He tells them that he works in the industry where Me Too was born, and if anyone felt uncomfortable, again with the if, it horrifies me, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, and someone could say those exact words in either situation. If they did perceive themselves as doing something, but they didn't want to acknowledge it, but they could also feel that way if they really hadn't perceived doing anything wrong.
We went back and we watched this several times, and there's a point where, and this is why I don't believe in the sincerity of what Dan was saying there, because he in a defensive way was basically saying, I'm sorry if you felt uncomfortable in these cramped shelters, if I had to touch you to get by you.
Okay, yeah, that was
or if it was cold, or
and I did this, or
yeah, and so that part made me think that he's not there.
Well,
he's definitely not there. I don't believe he believes that he needs to apologize, because he works in this industry where Me Too was born, and if anyone would know if he had done something wrong, it would be him.
Again, that could be perceived as dismissive, or it could be perceived as him trying to think back to things he might have done that they might be referring to.
You don't get to say them that way, and your tone explanation to me, and you like to refer to when we were talking to James, and he brought it up.
Said, my girlfriend said it wasn't what I said. It was my tone that I said.
Well, it was Dan's tone that I was trying to pick up on and perceive since I learned that lesson.
I'm not actually expressing an opinion. I'm trying to show both sides, to show that it could be one way or it could be the other. So
it's definitely having an impact on Janet. She's trying to decide. She tells Probst if she even wants to stay in the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, and each person's perspective will be different, colored by their own life experiences as well. And Jamal had also said that, this issue's bigger than the game of reality, and that we need to learn how to hear people's stories when they're ready to tell them.
Hear, listen, and
believe them.
I got that. That resonated with me when he said it that way.
That was very good to point out.
I like that, yeah. Hear, listen, and believe.
And, but I can't blame Dan for not wanting them to let it go, because he doesn't want to deal with it. But on the same hand, sorry, but some of the things that you did, obviously, at least with Kellee, if no one else, was very upsetting to her.
Seemed really clear with Molly,
Very
too.
genuine. And Molly, yes. The others, I'm not sure.
But you can't believe them now, given them what they chose to do.
And so, but with those two, I do believe they were sincerely bothered. And that alone should have been enough, in my opinion, for Dan to not touch anybody once Kellee spoke with him.
Had the first conversation. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if he just convinced himself, oh, it's okay, we talked about it and it's fine and there's no problem. But I don't know, if somebody had brought that up to me like that, I think I would have avoided touching anyone again.
Or just off the bat.
At all.
I'm older than Dan, and I wouldn't do what Dan does. I don't do it. And
we come at life conscious of that kind of thing.
From different perspectives, for sure, but I wouldn't touch someone like that. It just wouldn't even occur to me to do that. Mm-hmm. So, that's a tough one to wrestle with, for sure.
I know, and we don't have any answers, so.
Yeah. But Janet decides that she's going to stay, and that's good.
Yes, that would have been, that would have just made it, I would have been way sad for that.
Yeah.
To happen,
but
for her to like that.
See her pain. She tried to do.
Totally see her pain.
And she ended up paying for trying to help. That always makes you feel miserable. Probst finally does a good job of summing everything up, and they seem to agree to it. He triggered a jury memory for me when he asked Lauren that question. Can you separate this? Because you get that when you're doing the voir dire. When you're, because I just had to do jury duty a few weeks back, and you feel like you're on trial when you're doing that, but you get that question from the judge, hey, can you separate this from that? The phrase the judge in the trial that I was up for kept saying, can you land the plane? So,
do you think Jeff was talking specifically to Dan when he said, you can never brush over something, a story like this?
No, I don't think he was talking specifically to Dan. I think he was talking to everyone.
Yeah, okay.
And because that's a point for everyone.
So if anyone does anything, we're not going to brush over it. We're going to confront you about it.
He's just saying it's significant and we need to have a real discussion on it. That's all I took that to be.
I like that Lauren showed us her emotions around Janet is telling Janet, you're someone that people do go to, and it's important for people in real life to have someone like you. Obviously, we missed the sorry I came down on you so hard. I don't think we saw that.
Well, that's actually, I referred to that earlier. I said that might be from when Tommy and Lauren talked to Janet after the vote, and she said, well, I didn't have that response to Dan.
Well, yeah, but I felt like there was
kind of hard in response to Janet's emotion. Yeah, it could have been. It could have been something else completely different. Yeah. But that was one point to connect those.
But she reaffirmed then again that I can separate this from the vote. However, Janet decides to play her idol anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time to vote.
Kellee, watch. When you're in danger, play an idol.
Look it.
Yeah. And
I just knew she was going to play it.
My question was, hey, is she going to play that
Play
for
it for
Jamal?
Jamal?
Yeah.
And
Does
I
she
thought,
know that he's in danger? Because they told her they were splitting the vote between Jamal and Karishma.
I don't
so
think
would
I
she
would've-
really mix things up and do that and take that away from him?
I don't think I would have trusted that. I would have just protected myself.
Because she wouldn't have known, but she would have been okay, and Karishma would have went out.
Yeah.
Can you
but she didn't
imagine
know.
what that would have been like if she had saved Jamal there?
Well, from Karishma's reaction that they
You
showed,
could tell Karishma was worried.
she was worried she might play it for Jamal, I think.
Yeah.
When she saw her pull, oh no, she's
Yep.
got an idol.
So it looks like there was some cause for concern because sure enough, a couple of votes come in for Janet. that do not count.
Karishma voted for Janet, and Missy and Lauren, Elizabeth, and Elaine did the votes for Karishma, and Tommy, Aaron, Dean, Noura, Dan, and Janet voted for Jamal.
Jamal
And
is out.
Jamal had no vote
Yep, no vote
on.
because he lost it.
Yep. And goodbye, Jamal. He has some good wisdom for us. And he seemed to take it okay, though he didn't speak to anybody. Why did Noura seem surprised about that?
Yeah. Well,
What? He
'cause
didn't
she's
say
Noura.
goodbye? Nora, you just voted for him. I thought, okay.
After he played an idol to
Exactly.
save you.
Exactly. Kellee played an idol for Dean. He voted her out. Jamal played an idol for Noura. She voted him out.
There you go, the
So
masterminds.
if he doesn't say goodbye in the moment, hello.
That's your final three. You got Noura, Karishma, and Dean. Who you gonna pick? My goodness.
That's what he said to me. I said, I'm not watching. I'm already done.
Yeah, you'll be done with the season.
Oh,
my
I wouldn't,
goodness.
but I'd want to.
Mm.
I thought, no, I don't know.
All right, so Kelly's out, Jamal's out. What do these two have in common?
They're good players.
They were both from
Strategic.
original Vokai, part of those numbers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So Lairo's plan, it's working. As a matter of fact, it's worked.
It's worked.
Yeah, at this point,
They have the numbers if
they've
they
done it.
choose.
Well, yeah.
And Karishma.
Assuming Karishma and Dean will follow
well,
along.
Karishma and Dean,
But
hello.
They've got Tommy.
Where is Karishma going to go? She got
Exactly.
nowhere to go.
Right.
So anybody offering her something, she should be jumping on it, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Tell everyone yes.
So Missy, Aaron, Elizabeth, Elaine, and then they've got Tommy, right? And Dan. So they've locked Dan in with this and making Dan think that was all gameplay on Janet's part.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, there's 8 women. I thought, yeah, I think that's gone. I don't think they're looking at women's alliance or anything like that. Even though they had large numbers,
Yeah.
and they could compete better in the end against each other than against some of the men.
So do you think
and
this
some of the challenges.
this primarily old Lairo alliance, will they be able to hold it together to take out the rest of, to take out Janet and
Hey, everything
take out
I'm
Lauren
certain
and Tommy?
about has not come to pass. So,
Noura?
I have no insight at all.
I think they do.
I think they're. I think
Because
they're gonna be
Missy,
pretty strong.
Elizabeth, and Aaron are so ruthless. I wouldn't put Elaine quite in that category, but maybe that's just because we didn't see
no.
as much.
I think she can be.
Yeah,
And
but
would be.
because Missy and Elizabeth are so ruthless, and Aaron's right in there, Elaine's in there. I think they have the killer instinct to take them out.
Elaine was right there with Elaine and Aaron popped in and was right there backing Missy and Elizabeth up to Dan.
Right about how horrible Janet was.
And that's when I said to you, look at who's surrounding Dan right
Yeah.
now. All 4 of them.
So I really think they flipped the script.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't be in any hurry to take out Noura because she doesn't represent anything in the way of a threat. But there's a really good chance Tommy goes next so that Missy can follow through on her plan to separate Tommy and Lauren.
Will they be uncomfortable around Janet and not trust her? Does Janet have anywhere to go?
They've nullified Janet.
Aww.
Yeah, I think that's the unfortunate reality. And then they'll essentially be taking Tommy away from Lauren and Janet. So that might be what Aaron was talking about in Next Time on Survivor being a 2-for-1.
Well, and now that Jamal's gone, where's Noura? I mean, yes, she obviously went with the others to vote against him, but usually she has, like, she's championing Jason, she's championing Jamal. Where's she going now? Is she going to get behind Tommy or Aaron?
Do they get rid of Tommy next, or do they get rid of Dan? I think... Oh, it's a double. They get rid of Tommy and Dan.
Oh, that's right. Well, no, that's not right. Or maybe it is, but I forgot.
Yeah, so
next on Survivor.
Next time on Survivor, Probst tells us there are going to be 2 vote outs.
Twist of fate.
And you said, hey, there are 2 necklaces by him. So it could be another individual immunity. I mean, he has to collect them from Aaron and Missy this time. Well, but they're still both hanging there. He didn't sit one aside. There.
And he didn't say yet. But that's what you said. When I said, hey, there's 2 idols hanging there. Mm-hmm. And you said, but he just took them back from him. And I went, oh, you're right.
Well,
but I said, but he usually sits one off to the side. Right. And he hadn't, but yet. So, but he was telling them about the twist.
We see Dean talking, he was talking to Aaron. He said,
Aaron, yeah.
Hopefully it's Karishma or Janet.
Yeah, I think it was more of a question.
Hopefully it's
saying,
Karishma or Janet?
If it's... I'm not sure Dean's sure about anything.
Then we see Elaine talking to Tommy and saying, she's wanting to put you out. And then they cut visually to Missy.
But we don't know if it's even related. But
exactly.
They did cut to Missy. And Tommy saying, well, when you bring up my name, I'm coming after you. So... Aaron said something about 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, that's why I was saying when they take Tommy out, it takes Tommy away from Lauren and Janet. Because he's had a connection to Janet, although that's, less strong, or not as strong since they had been separated all that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say Tommy's a definite target. And I think they would take Dan out too. And it's very demonstrative of their skill level. It's like, yeah, we're done with you. They might let Janet ride a little longer, and then they'll take her. But
so who do you
someone's going to move with Karishma, Dean, and Noura to form an alliance. Who do you think it's going to be? Yeah, possibly Janet.
They're kind of the ones that are, not in the bigger alliance. But
I think it'll be Missy.
Who do you think Janet's going to blame most for all this? Will she blame Missy and Elizabeth most?
Well, she knows
or
the
Tommy
blame goes
and Lauren
on Elizabeth.
Well,
She's already had that discussion with Elizabeth, and she doesn't know Missy's role. So,
but will she also blame Tommy and Lauren for not cluing her in to what was happening?
I don't know the answer to that. But I think Missy's most likely to turn on these Lairo after they get done finishing off Tommy and Dan. And, she may pivot to work with Janet. I know she's going to need to get rid of Janet. I think Janet's too sharp.
Well, Janet is sharp, and she might be their only hope to go to Tommy, Lauren, and Dan and just say, look, I'm sorry for all that, but if we don't do something and with us and Noura and try to pull in either Dean or Karishma, we need to stop this old Lairo or we're all going out. At least point out the possibility. Tommy's acting like, no, there's no old Vokai or old Lairo. It's like, well, there hasn't been, but there could be.
I've already written Tommy off. I'm convinced Tommy's going. Tommy's already in my vote out list for.
Well, he was in your vote out list this week.
Yes,
too.
He was. He and Aaron, but Aaron shined through there.
Well, Dan is strong, and he has done good in challenges. That's kind of why I did vote for Jamal to go this week, because I thought if there was a women's alliance, that they would then want to get rid of the men and the strongest ones first. And I thought that would be Aaron and Jamal. And you put Aaron and Tommy, but not for those reasons. But anyway, that was my thinking for my choices.
How about a JSFL update?
We can't do that this week because...
We can't.
No, we can't.
Because it's a complicated scoring situation.
Yes,
and we can't do it.
We don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
So
Steve will
usually
take care
I
of
do it, but Steve will take care of it.
Do you have any information to share?
Do I? Let's see. Nope.
Okay.
Just I like Jamal talking about that that he accomplished some important steps in his own personal growth while he was out there. And I think that's always a good thing.
So we are officially past the merge. So between now and when the next episode airs, you are free to change your Ultimate Survivor bonus choice.
And if you're one of the 70 people, we're not sure exactly how that even opened up for this week, but...
Shouldn't have, but I guess it did.
But it was.
Not going to hurt anything, I
And
guess.
we did not know that until this afternoon when someone posted it on Facebook. And
like I
I
explained,
actually woke up and checked it.
You make the change after the merge, so...
Yes, and for those 70 of you that made your USB choices this week, you are free to go back in and change it until the deadline next week. So some of them may be relieved.
Yeah.
They may change their opinions. You may not.
I know Jeremiah's happy that his choice is simpler. He didn't have to worry about hanging on to Jamal now. He's in the same boat as me.
Because he's his USB 24.
Yeah.
Yep, we're in the same boat, and I really don't know where I'm going to go exactly, but I got a lot of thinking, so hopefully the listener feedback show will help me with that. And
Kellee was the only one targeting Missy, so I think she's got to be under consideration. But the question is, when are they going to turn on her? Or is she
somebody better recognize it quickly.
Because Missy's got history protecting Karishma and keeping her as a vote, and she saved Dean, although he didn't want to hear it.
Well, both Kellee and Jamal were strategic thinkers, and so is Missy. I think maybe even those three were kind of top thinkers, and so I think it was a good move on their part to go after Missy. To go after Kellee.
The question is, who are you going to pick for your USB? That's what we're focused on.
You got me thinking again, so you know how it is. I don't know. I can't make
Missy's
that choice
a good choice. Lauren's a good choice. Even Elaine is good, and if they don't get the opportunity to stop Aaron, he'll just win his way right into the end. I don't think Tommy and Dan and Janet are long for the game.
I don't, it's not that I don't, when I say I don't like somebody, I don't know them personally. It's nothing personal.
In the context
of the game.
As their
context in the game and how they're playing the game. And we only get to know, we know how editing is. We all understand that we don't get to know them completely by who they are shown as on the game. So, but that being said, I am not drawn to cheer for Missy or Aaron because I've not seen a lot of that personal softness or emotion or something.
They've chosen to show them more from a GameBot perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, and Elizabeth seems in that same category to me too.
And it's working because I kind of like someone that can show their emotion. Or at least their humanity, there's something. So I see a little bit of that in Lauren, and even though I haven't championed her in any way, I guess she's a consideration. Because
Elaine's still in the running.
Yeah,
you could go with Elaine.
I like Elaine fine, and she would be somebody fun to cheer for, but we hadn't seen much of her lately. So I really don't know. I have a lot of thinking in that area.
We look forward to hearing what you think.
I have one more thing.
Okay.
If you have a USB 24 still in the game at this time, make certain before you change to someone else that that's exactly what you want to do, because if you decide to change back to them, you can, but not for 24 points. Once you change it, whether you changed it this week or you change it next week, once you change off of the 24, you can go back, but it's for 10.
Lost the 24.
10 points.
Yeah, you gave it up when you changed.
Yeah,
you changed
and
your mind.
That's just the way it's set up.
Yep.
So remember that.
You and I will be looking for our new USB 5 for a possible 5 points. And those people who still have one in the game but think, oh, I need to change. There's no way that Noura's going to win. And I had her pick to win before the season started.
You did?
No, I didn't.
Oh. I'm like, what?
You're not tracking. You're really not tracking right now. You're really tired.
Well, what time in the morning is it back on the East Coast?
Yeah, a little after 2.
Uh-huh. Mama goes to bed at 9.
Yep.
So
In any case, I was giving an example.
Well, I still
Then
like
there's a
Janet.
possible 10 points.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. You can't stay on topic at all.
I think you're a little out of sort, too. Because
Sure.
you had to stay up early this morning and come and get me at the airport.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
You were
Okay, I think we're done. We're going to have to wrap it up because
I
she's
just
going to
wanted
keep
to
doing
say,
this otherwise.
I just wanted to say that I really still love Janet, but I just can't see a way she could get to the end. Or I might even choose her.
Maybe if she can rally the misfits and someone else.
Yeah.
I think Dan's a lost cause. He's not going to realize how hard he got played until he watched it tonight.
Well, I even thought about that tonight. If he really is, not aware of, people being... I do. Sorry. I've been around my great nephew and like his every other word. And so I'll try to drop that baby.
We're looking forward to hearing
Lost
your
my
thoughts.
train of
Okay, zip it. We're looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this double episode. Man, it's jam-packed. It's really emotional. And there may be some people who have something they can share to help us see it from different perspectives. Voicemail line 206-350-1547. Toll free 844-643-8737. The email Joanne and Stacy Show @gmail.com. So try to keep it in that 3-minute range. We look forward to putting that show out on Saturday. Feedback is due noon Pacific time. You can actually Google that time, California, and it'll tell you what for that day and that time, what it is. So you'll have an idea of how far it is if you're unfortunate and wait close to the deadline.
I have to do that, anything out of the country, because I would...
You had to do it when you traveled back anyway.
Stop it.
Yes.
He's really happy I'm back.
I am happy you're back. Let's focus on this and wrapping it up.
I will.
All right. Have a good one.